What's going on, bottom line viewers? It's Mitch back here, live, here to discuss the latest trade in the NFL, and I think maybe the first of quite a few that's going to go down over the course of the next week or so. Case Keenum has been dealt to the Washington Redskins. As we know, the Redskins have Alex Smith, and I know what's going through your mind right now. Okay, Alex Smith, he's their starting quarterback, but Alex Smith is also an injured Alex Smith. We don't really know the timeline on when he's going to return to the lineup for the Redskins, when he's really going to be ready for the season. So my thought was that Case Keenum would be dealt somewhere that needs a backup quarterback, somewhere to kind of be a Band-Aid, somewhere that could be, somewhere where he could help their situation as a fill-in, as a backup who could play a few games. He is not going to be a starter for long. He's basically going to be a quarterback that can come in there for the Redskins. He has experience in the NFL. He has experience winning games. He has experience going to the NFC Championship. No, he's not Tom Brady. He's not Patrick Mahomes. But he's going to come in there and he's going to be able to manage the game. He's going to be able to run an NFL offense. He's going to be a veteran presence and a quarterback that does play a similar style to Alex Smith. I don't think he's as good, but he plays a similar style. Now, the Redskins weren't going to draft a quarterback this year because they just couldn't. They have too much money invested into Alex Smith. It just doesn't make sense to go and draft one in the first round. So they're kind of in this quarterback purgatory where they can't really make a move for a young quarterback and make him sit on the bench. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. So by going out and trading for Case Keenum, they bring in a guy who can come in and win a few games. It's not a terrible contract. And overall, the deal was a pretty good deal overall. I'm just going to look at the details. I know they're sort of still coming out. They're sort of still being filed here. Just looking at it. Overall, though, I think that this is a pretty decent move for the Redskins. I don't hate it. I think just having a quarterback that is better than what they had in Colt McCoy, better than what they had in Josh Johnson, is not necessarily a bad thing. Remember, the Redskins were a team that I think were like 6-3, something to that degree during the season. They were playing very good football. They were looking like the best team in the NFC East. Alex Smith gets injured, and they basically blow their entire chance of making the playoffs. So that being said, by having Case Keenum there, they have a guy that can come in and play better football than what they had in Colt McCoy. And they have said that they're going to have them compete with Colt McCoy to be the backup this season. So we'll see if he ends up actually earning the job. If not, I don't think it really costs them a lot to cut him if they really need to. But looking at the trade here, Broncos have basically made up a trade that is going to get a 6th-round pick in 2020. So not this year's draft, but next year. So a 6th-round pick next year to Washington, and Washington gets a Broncos 7th-round pick. So basically you're getting Case Keenum for a 7th-round pick, in my opinion, because you're trading a 6th for a 7th. And that's not even this season, that's next season. Plus the Broncos are going to have to pay him still. So Washington, just looking at it, Broncos pay him $500K restructure bonus and pay him $3.5 million of his $7 million salary. Washington pays $3.5 million. So this is a good deal for a financial standpoint as well for the Redskins. The Broncos still have to retain some of that salary, so you're not paying the full salary. Overall, it's getting a quality backup quarterback, not a guy that's going to come in and start, but a guy that can fill in for Alex Smith as long as he's injured. It's just a move to try and allow the Redskins an ability to win. Now, looking at the Redskins roster this year, the Redskins don't look like a team that are going to be a contender. They don't look like a team that can go to the Super Bowl. They don't look like a team that's going to make the playoffs. But I mean, they were that way last year, even though they didn't look like it on paper. So they could go out there in the draft, have a solid draft, go out there in free agency, have a solid free agency, and maybe with Case Keenum, they could be a team that can compete for a playoff spot. Maybe until Alex Smith comes back and then he can fill in, and then basically Alex Smith grabs his spot back. But again, they weren't going to draft the quarterback. They weren't going to go out and pay someone a ridiculous amount of money to come in and replace Alex Smith. They were just looking for a complimentary ad at the position, which is why I thought they might go after and sign Tyrod Taylor. Instead, they get Case Keenum. Now, my personal opinion, I probably would have rather had Tyrod Taylor, but again, it's kind of pick your poison. Maybe they felt better with Case Keenum, and again, they basically got him for nothing. Okay, guys, let's go to the chat, and then I'll get out of here. Wayne says, downgrade Alex Smith to Case Keenum, temporary Band-Aid. Well, again, it's not really a downgrade because Alex Smith's still their starting quarterback. He's still their guy. Case Keenum is just going to be the Band-Aid, as you stated, but it's just because Alex Smith is injured. He has a long-term injury, so he's not going to be able to probably play maybe at the beginning of the season. Again, we still haven't heard anything on that. Kevin Durkant does not like the move. He is going from Mark Sanchez to Case Keenum. That's a downgrade, he says. Ultra says downgrade. I don't know what are they downgrading from? Colt McCoy? I'm kind of confused here. Ryan says, how much cap hit will Keenum have on the Skins? I don't exactly know the full figures, but I do know, like I said, that the Broncos are going to have to retain some of the money. So, and for me, if I'm looking at it from John Elway's perspective, he brought in Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco is going to be their quarterback. They wanted to move on from Case Keenum. Potentially the Broncos look at drafting a quarterback this year. That is a possibility because I know the hot thing in the NFL right now is just getting a quarterback that can sit behind a veteran presence, and maybe they just didn't want to have both quarterbacks in there. And it also does relieve of them of some of the cap that they did sign Case Keenum too. So from both sides, it makes sense. I don't think it's like really a clear win for either side. It just makes sense on both sides. For the Redskins, they get a backup. For the Broncos, they get rid of Case Keenum and they can move on with Joe Flacco. And if they want to draft a guy, they can. What else we have here? What's going on? John Bodo says he's not Tom. You just can help yourself, talking about the Patriots. Yep, that's true. Case Keenum has a $18 million base salary in 2019. I'd actually have to look that up. I would just suggest looking it up yourself on Google. But I do know, again, that the Broncos will be retaining some of the money. Bodo, thank you for the $20, bro. I appreciate it. He is giving a shout out to John, even though being on my channel. So thank you for that. Kevin Durkant says the Skins could have done better. They would have had way better options. I mean, looking at it, they could have signed Nick Foles for way too much money. They weren't going to do that because they have Alex Smith. Again, they have Alex Smith. And if you look at Alex Smith's contract, he's being paid starter money. You're not going to pay Nick Foles. They could get Tyrod Taylor. They could get Teddy Bridgewater if you feel those guys are better than Case Keenum. You're not going to draft a guy in the first round. So Case Keenum made a lot of sense. It was between a guy like Case Keenum, Tyrod Taylor, and Teddy Bridgewater. Those were kind of the names that were floated out there to grab, for the Redskins. Any rumors? What do we got here? Any rumors about our roster, the Patriots? I'm not going to address that right now. I have heard something recently about Jamie Collins potentially coming back, but that's the latest. This is just basically focus on the Broncos. What else we got here? Sport Track. There you go. Okay, we'll just go over this Sport Track real quick. Ooh, I didn't mean to do that. My bad. Oh, well. So thanks, guys, for joining me here. If you want the full contract information, thanks, Ryan. I pressed that by mistake. Go check out the Sport Contract site. It's a good site. There's a lot of different sites. Just search up Case Keenum's contract. You'll be able to look it up there. But overall, Case Keenum to the Redskins, probably going to play a couple games this year for the Redskins. The Redskins are learning from their mistakes last year, not having a good enough backup for when Alex Smith went down with that freakish injury, and they'll see if they can make a run in a relatively weak NFC East. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, Gronk spike that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. A lot more coming, and I'm excited to get this free agency underway. There's going to be a lot of reactions coming your way as soon as I can get it to you. All right, guys, it's Mitch of the Bottom Line View. Peace out.